Today's video will inform the viewer of over a dozen deck archetypes being played in the current Pokemon TCG competitive format, starting with the best deck in format, Gardevoir EX. Gardevoir EX is perceived by many to be the best deck in standard format. Gardevoir's expected dominance will likely encourage players to construct counter decks specifically built to beat Gardevoir. A couple of known counter decks already are Arceus Duraludon Vulpix and Zoroark Box, both of which will be covered in this video. The Gardevoir EX deck is versatile with several attackers and strategies, making it a great deck choice for a large and varied field. Its matchups against popular meta decks range from slightly unfavored to very favored. The stereotypical list for Gardevoir EX in the Paldea Evolved format right now is the 9th place list from the Japan Championships piloted by Yoshiyuki Yamaguchi. The deck aims to establish multiple Ralts, Kirlias, and eventually Gardevoirs onto the board. Gardevoir EX's Psychic Embrace accelerates energy as needed to your main attackers Gardevoir and Zacian V. Cresselia is used to heal damage from Psychic Embrace and knock out low HP Pokemon like Comfeys or opposing Ralts and Kirlias. Iono is an important new addition to the deck from Paldea Evolved and helps slow down opponents while Gardevoir sets up. I expect Gardevoir to be at least 25% of the Masters Division field at NAIC, which could mean a few things. 1. Players need a plan for this matchup if they want to go far in the event. 2. I can just about guarantee Gardevoir EX will succeed at this event due to how much play it will see. And 3, a counter meta will form and there will be decks that focus on beating Gardevoir EX. I expect several Gardevoir EX decks to place top 16 or higher at NAIC, and would not be surprised if Gardevoir EX wins the whole event. Next is Tier 1, which includes Lugia V-Star, Mew VMAX, and Lost Zone Box. These are established archetypes which will undoubtedly see success and popularity at NAIC. Each of these archetypes have at least 2 variants, so let's dive a little deeper into them. Lugia V-Star will always be accompanied by Archeops and an array of special energy cards. The 2 Lugia variants are Single Strike Lugia and the new and experimental Colorless Lugia. The most optimized version of Lugia is Reagan Retzloff's Single Strike Lugia featuring Single Strike Urshifu VMAX. Tyranitar V, Yveltal, and Stonejourner are typically included in these deck lists as well. In lieu of Single Strike Urshifu, lists may include Duraludon VMAX, which is also a Single Strike Pokemon, or no VMAX Pokemon at all. The other variant of Lugia in the metagame is Colorless Lugia, which has been created due to new cards from Paldea Evolved, such as Jet Energy, Therapeutic Energy, and Luminous Energy. This variant focuses on Pokemon that don't require a specific energy type to attack, like Lugia, Snorlax, and Weirdir V. It's seen scattered success in Asian events and Western online events already, so NAIC will be a definitive event for this variant of the deck's future. Over a year since its release in Fusion Strike, Mew VMAX is still one of the most powerful archetypes in standard format, although the playing field is much more level than ever, making Mew VMAX just one of the Tier 1 decks to choose from. There are 2 variants of Mew VMAX, DTE Mew and Fusion Strike Mew. DTE Mew uses Mew VMAX as its only attacker in the deck, with only 11 Pokemon cards and 4 energy cards included, leaving room for 45 trainer cards. DTE Mew dishes out considerable damage and disrupts the opponent with supporter cards like Judge, while using Path to the Peak to shut off important abilities like Radiant Greninja's Concealed Cards, Arceus V-Star's Starbirth, and opposing Genesect V's Fusion Strike systems. DTE Mew typically plays 3 to 4 Lost Vacuum for removing Path to the Peak from play when needed. Fusion Strike Mew uses Fusion Strike Energy and Alessa's Sparkle for explosive turns. This variant of the deck is extra aggressive since it can begin attacking on turn 1 with Melodious Echo, or the other common attackers Deoxys and Ice-Q. Although Fusion Strike Mew received very little support from the first 2 Scarlet and Violet sets, it seems to be well positioned in the meta and it won the recent Japan Championships. Lost Zone Box is a very strong archetype, mostly focused on single prize Pokemon like Cramorant, Sableye, and Radiant Greninja. There are many deck lists which will include V Pokemon and some combination of Forest Seal and Sky Seal Stone. We'll break this archetype into 2 variants, Single Prize and Seal Stones. The Single Prize Lost Zone Box decks will often play Kyogre as their big late game play. Otherwise, the deck aims to use Sableye's Lost Mine and Radiant Greninja's Moonlight Shuriken to whittle down the opponent's board. Snorlax is a common inclusion for high damage output. Some lists will include Metal Energy so they can play Zamazenta, which is even stronger than Snorlax. This variant of Lost Zone is often referred to as Turbo Lost Zone. It includes Forest Seal Stone, Pokestop, and Trekking Shoes to accrue cards into the Lost Zone as fast as possible. This deck aims to reach 7 or 10 cards in the Lost Zone by turn 2 in order to begin using Mirage Gate and Sableye Lost Mine. Each of these Tier 1 archetypes should account for roughly 10 to 15% of the meta each. I would expect to see at least one of each of these archetypes in the top 16 of the Masters Division at NAIC. If Gardevoir EX does not win the event, I'd bet it's one of these Tier 1 archetypes or a focused Gardevoir EX counter deck. If you're enjoying today's video, remember to subscribe for more Pokemon TCG content, and you can also check out my second channel, Celio2, for bonus content. If you'd like to support my channel, you can do so by using code CELIO at PotownStore.com when shopping for Pokemon TCG Live code cards, or using my affiliate links for Dragon Shield sleeves and Into the AM apparel. If you'd like to support further, you could become a Metafy member using my link, which will directly support me, and I also offer Pokemon TCG coaching through Metafy. Now let's look at the Tier 2 decks. Within Tier 2, we'll cover Chien-Pao EX, Giratina V-Star, Lost Box Charizard, Reversal Gardevoir, and Arceus V-Star variants. Chien-Pao EX is a brand new archetype from Paldea Evolved. This deck has some hype around it since it's new and seems to be pretty powerful, but its lack of success at Champions League Niigata and the Japan Championships makes me hesitate to follow the hype without further evidence. Baxcalibur's Super Cold ability is the catalyst of the deck, allowing you to attach as many water energy as you like. Chien-Pao is both the main attacker, and also offers a way to search out energies from your deck. There are two main variants of this deck that have legs in my opinion, the Palkia V-Star variant and the Arceus V-Star variant. The deck lists mainly vary based on which V-Star power they have at their disposal. Giratina V-Star gained a Jet Energy from Paldea Evolved, and this has proven to be a major upgrade for the archetype. Giratina V-Star has the unique attack Star Requiem, which can instantly knock out anything. It also has Giratina V's first attack, Lost Abyss, which can guarantee 2 extra cards into the Lost Zone. Jet Energy helps the deck smoothly build up the Lost Zone by switching between comfies easier, and brings Giratina V into the active while also fulfilling the energy cost for Lost Abyss. I'd say this deck is underrated since many players don't realize just how important Jet Energy was for it. Lost Box Charizard is a simpler version of Lost Zone Box that plays less energy and less Pokemon, focusing on Sableye, Cramorant, and Charizard as its main attackers. Popular tech Pokemon in this deck include Mawile to trap support Pokemon like Lumineon and Radiant Greninja, and Drapion V or Spiritomb for the Mew matchup. Reversal Gardevoir is an archetype which premiered at Champions League Niigata with multiple Day 2 finishes, the highest being Hiromasa Shima's top 16. This variant of Gardevoir uses attackers that benefit from Reversal Energy: Gardevoir, Gallade, the other Gallade, and Luxray. It plays Gardevoir EX as an option, but not the main strategy of the deck. Gardevoir EX is typically used in the endgame to power up Mewtwo V Union. This deck suffers from vulnerable early turns and complicated strategy, but has the tools to beat just about anything. As for Arceus V-Star, there are several variants of the archetype, including Arceus Keys, which locks abilities with Klefki, Aerodactyl V-Star, and Path to the Peak; Arceus Duraludon Umbreon, which counters special energy reliant decks with Duraludon, and uses Umbreon VMAX's Dark Signal to aggressively chase down important benched Pokemon; Arceus Duraludon Vulpix, which Alex Szymanski won EUIC with, using Alolan Vulpix V-Star to completely wall out Gardevoir EX's attackers. And probably the most popular Arceus variant, Arceus Giratina V-Star, which is the most straightforward and aggressive of the Arceus variants, sometimes playing Flying Pikachu VMAX as a counter to Lugia V-Star and Chien-Pao EX decks. The Arceus V-Star archetype is still alive and strong, but there are several variants to choose from, and I doubt everyone will land on the same one. I personally wouldn't tech for something like Arceus Keys or Arceus Vulpix at the time, but it's a good idea to give these matchups some thoughts if you're playing a deck that they aim to counter. Now for Tier 3. These archetypes all have something holding them back from being a better choice. A few of these can trickle into day 2, but I wouldn't expect any of them to be more popular than 5% of day 1 due to their glaring issues. Zoroark Box is an incredibly cool deck. It uses an array of stage 1 Pokemon which Zoroark can transform into, and it's even better now with Reversal Energy and Luminous Energy expanding the possible attackers in the deck. Zoroark's issue is that it will hardly ever be able to win the prize trade versus Lost Zone decks, since their attackers like Cramorant, Sableye, and Radiant Greninja are more efficient than Zoroark's. The deck can be teched with spread damage cards like Mismagius, Drifblim, and Electivire to prepare for the Lost Zone matchups, but this is yet to be proven as a worthwhile venture. Most Zoroark decks will likely fold to Duraludon VMAX and Temple of Sinnoh as well. The scariest thing about this deck is Slowbro, which can immediately win the game given the right board state. Rapid Strike Inteleon and Urshifu is a powerful deck that is quite intimidating when they set up multiple VMAX Pokemon. They have the power of Metacham's Yoga Loop, which can take an extra turn given the right circumstances. This archetype's main flaw is the awful Lugia V-Star matchup, as well as an unsalvageable Duraludon VMAX matchup. The positive, however, is that Rapid Strike has a great matchup into Lost Zone decks. Ting-Lu EX is a new archetype from Paldea Evolved. Ting-Lu has an interesting ability that affects several meta cards such as Comfey, Radiant Greninja, Arceus V-Star, Lugia V-Star, Baxcalibur, Archeops. The main issue is that it doesn't shut off Gardevoir EX's Psychic Embrace. Ting-Lu actually has some decent matchups against Lost Zone variants and Arceus decks, even a solid matchup against Mew, but its Gardevoir matchup is borderline unwinnable if the Gardevoir player is capable of playing through a tough early game. Goodra V-Star decks were positioned pretty well at some parts of the Scarlet and Violet meta. That is, until Paldea Evolved improved Giratina V-Star and introduced Chien-Pao EX, both bad matchups for Goodra. The Lugia V-Star matchup is also something to be concerned about, since they likely have either Single Strike Urshifu VMAX or Weirdeer V, depending on the variant, both capable of one-shotting a Goodra V-Star. Since Goodra's power comes from its survivability, having decks in the format that can reasonably one-shot it through the effects of Rolling Iron proved disastrous for the deck. Last we have Miraidon EX. This deck is fast and simple. Unfortunately, its simplicity is what limits it from being a better deck. Miraidon EX is seen as sort of a free matchup for many meta decks, since the deck has to bench multiple basic EX and V Pokemon and has very linear lines of play. Miraidon EX has gotten some good placements based on raw power, but I'm doubtful that will happen at NAIC. I hope you all enjoyed today's metagame snapshot for the NAIC Pokemon TCG standard format, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.